Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Friday. Again. Happens every week. It's funny that. As always, if you are watching, do pop a comment in the comments box so that I know I'm not sitting here on my own. Good morning, Susie. I was a minute late this morning. I'll have to have a reprimand on my record. Because I remembered just on 9 o'clock I hadn't actually plugged into the internet. But there you go. It's Friday. It's Friday. Good morning, Jay. Good morning, Helen. Good morning, Jane. Good morning, Maria. Good morning, Carla. Good morning, everyone. Lots of lovely people. Good, drink your tea. Good morning, Michelle. Good morning, Sue. Good morning, Teresa. Good morning, Martina. Multitasking, feeding the dogs. Got to get your priorities right. Good morning, Diane. Good morning, Sylvie. Good morning, Lani. Good morning, Erin. Sorry. Good morning, Mendy. Long time no see. Yes. Good morning, Melissa. Made it. Yep, we're all here. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Friday in March. Good morning from my husband. Hello. Good morning, Christine. Good morning, Heather. Pete, did you have a good birthday? He did have a very nice birthday, Lonnie. We ate huge amounts of donuts. Good morning, Rachel. Good morning, Karen. Where's the week gone? Oh, absolutely. Bonjour, Ali. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, Sarah. Good morning, Kay. Very, very lovely to have all you people here. As always, really. Good morning, Jane. Clocks go forward this morning. Oh, dear. Let's start that again. Clocks go forward this month. Yes, spring, isn't it? So the clocks spring forward. Good morning, Xenia. Good morning, Jess. Good morning, Trudy. Right, got my tea done. How is everybody? You all right? The sun is shining here. The sun is shining, which is, let's get some techie stuff sorted, which is lovely. It is very, very spring-like out there today. How is it with you? Sunny? Springy? Snowy? But am I going to smoke out the room for Peter? Actually, the funny thing is, yeah, I am going to be talking about cleansing with smoke today and the good old smudging debate. But it's actually Pete loves incense. I'm actually quite allergic to a lot of it. I know it's embarrassing for a witch, isn't it? I'm allergic to incense and cats, which is really, really bad. But yeah, Pete loves his incense. He's got his own little incense burners and his box of incense. Sunny morning in northern Germany too. Good, good, good. Lani is multitasking, eating breakfast, listening and watching. Most important meal of the day. Kay is actually still in bed trawling through Facebook and my live popped up. Hurrah! Nice to still be in bed. Maria, what t-shirt do you have on today? Okay, today's t-shirt is a bit dark actually. It says the Jupiter Mining Corporation. The black on purple is really bad actually. So it's the Jupiter Mining Corporation. Points for knowing what TV show that's from. Lani, it's gorgeous there. Yes, it is lovely here. Erin, almost full dark here, but definitely lighter than this time last month. Oh, absolutely. Christine is allergic to cats and too much sage. Yeah, we're bad witches, Christine. Karen, it's grey here, but we're going to have a bacon butties and work in the garden planting and tidying. Oh, bacon butty. I could eat one of those right now. Mendy, oh no, not cats. I have 7 kitties. Actually, I'm allergic to Eric too, but I'm dosed up on antihistamines all the time. But there you go. Martina has done my spring smudging and house feels so much fresher. Good, good. Xenia's had breakfast, still have my decaf coffee. That's like non-alcoholic wine, isn't it? Coffee without caffeine. Jess heard the dawn chorus for the first time this morning. Yes, I was up for my, women of a certain age go for a wee at, 5 o'clock this morning, about 20 past 4 actually, and the birds were all singing. Yes, it was lovely. Melissa burned sage the other day. It smelled like marijuana. I'm not going to ask how you know what that smells like. Melissa prefers incense. Yeah, we will talk about sage in a second. Morning, Carol, over on the Kent coast. Right, Maria, in answer to this, Jupiter Mining Corporation is from Red Dwarf. Excellent, excellent TV series. It is, yeah. It looked so much better online, but you can't actually read it on the purple T-shirt, but hey ho. So, yes, I thought this morning I would talk about good old smoke cleansing and smudging. We had a bit of a 2 and 8 on the Kitchen Witch Coven this week about smudging, and there was an awful lot of misinformation and sharing of information that's pasted on Facebook and it's not actually factual, that it caused a bit of a to-do. So I thought I'd talk about it today, just give my point of view on it and share some suggestions on smoke cleansing and things as well, because it's something that probably one of the most common things that we all do, really. Sue says decaf coffee's like swimming in an overcoat. Yes. I'm not a big coffee lover, but yes, I can understand that. Trudy, it's cloudy and dry weather, eating my toast. Lunchtime supervisor, so works and good old toast for breakfast. Christine, I once went to a shaman meeting and the leader started burning sage and the room was so cloudy I couldn't see anything, had to leave as I couldn't breathe. Yes, I have been in that situation, not good. Melissa says, marijuana was legalized where I live, Colorado Springs. Smell is everywhere now. Yeah, see, I grew up with a dad who was on the drug squad, so I had it drummed into me that avoid at all costs. But there you go, each to their own. Good morning, Pam from Mid Wales. Good morning. Good morning, Teresa. Michelle, 2 of my neighbours use medical marijuana. The wind always blows it into my yard. It has got a very distinctive smell, hasn't it? Incense is much better. Yeah, I'm with you, Michelle. Good morning, Vanessa. Xenia, decaf coffee lets me drink my beloved coffee when with normal coffee my blood pressure goes through the roof. Oh, yeah, so definitely good to stick with decaf, Xenia, definitely. The only coffee I drink is really, really wimpy coffee with lots of caramel syrup in it. Good morning, Hazel. So I thought I would talk today about smoke cleansing because it is a bit of a controversial subject. More recently it's become controversial, I think. So let's have a look at it. So the burning of herbs for psychic and spiritual cleansing is found in many religions. Good morning, Melanie. But the term smudging is the one that we often use. Now, it does seem that term or word smudging seems to refer to the Native American practice that uses generally white sage that's burnt, waved through the aura to cleanse the energy field of a person, object, or room. Although I have read that they do tend to use it more for protection rather than cleansing. So I am not au fait with the Native American practices at all. The bits I've seen and the pieces I've read, it seems to be a very, very beautiful spiritual pathway. But I don't know much about it. So I'll put my hands up to that. It's not one of my areas because it's not relevant to me, really, living in good old England and being pretty much 100% English, as the DNA test my son had done, not for dubious reasons, the ancestry DNA test done. I'm pretty much English through and through. So it's not an area that I've ever really worked with. Good morning, Dawn. So I did some research because I thought there must be more to this whole smudging thing. In my research, I found that the word smudge comes from an Old English word, smogun or smogen. It is cited in several dictionaries, Merriam-Webster, Collins, Free Dictionary, dictionary.com, as coming from 14th and 15th century late Middle English. It means to smear, to blur, to obscure, or to smother with smoke, or to use dense smoke to protect an area from insects. The other meaning is also to be taken by surprise. So in English, the term smudge, which you'll quite often find in the spoken language, also means smut or dirt. So you might have a smudge of dirt on your face. It has been in use since the 15th century, and it first appeared after the Norman conquest. So it is believed to be of Germanic origin. So that was quite interesting, that the word smudge does come from Old English word, and that its original meaning was to smother with smoke, which I find quite fascinating, really. But I think the theory behind the type of cleansing is that the smoke attaches itself to the negative energy and it clears it, takes the negative energy with it. You will find it across lots and lots of cultures. I'm just reading up on this. Kay says, I often wondered why the smoking herb got the name skunk. Oh, because it smells like it, yeah. Christine gave up studying Native American spirituality as I once spoke to a native and he said he found it insulting that anyone taking the native spirit on board, but he still gave me a bag of nick to burn and it was lovely. Good morning, Jackie. I think it's a difficult area. It is a difficult area, particularly as pagans, because we work with so many different pantheons and pathways from across the globe. Hellenic for the Greek and Egyptian gods, and we all work with all these different pantheons. So you could really, so you could take this cultural appropriation thing so much further. Should we be reading tarot? That is supposedly an Italian invention. So are we allowed to read that? Should we be reading runes if we're not Scandinavian? It's quite a tricky ground, and I think you have to do your research. Don't blindly follow information that's shared on social media, because most of it isn't fact. Do your own research, do your own study, and trust your own morals, standards, intuition, and how you feel about it. And I think a huge part of it is respect. So there is that to come into it. But as for cleansing with smoke, it is something that's done by lots and lots of cultures across the globe. Vikings used to use mugwort. They used to burn mugwort to give a cleansing smoke. So you will find it across the globe. But I think the problem comes with the white sage. So we will talk about that. Indigenous people of America use sage, sweetgrass, sometimes cedar, to make these smudge bundles. I would recommend that you use something that is local to you. Let's have a look at the comments. Melissa, I think that being a practitioner of another culture ways helps to keep that culture alive, but also culture is not a race. Yes, there's got to be a definite definition. Difference. Oh dear, perhaps I need some coffee. There needs to be a definition, a difference between those things, doesn't there? Kay says, their spirits are very precious and sacred to them. Unless you are invited to do this by an elder or medicine man of the tribe, it's frowned upon. They have trust issues, understandably so. And I think perhaps the same thing would apply to the Indigenous people of Australia, the Aborigines. There's a very similar situation. Hi, Timothy. I use mugwort and rosemary as it's native to this country. But as with cultural appropriation, we need to look to these spiritualities to help us rebuild our native spirituality in this land. Grey Wolf, chief of the British Druid Order, has an excellent paper on this, and one which Native Americans comment on in agreement with him. And I think this is important do your research and make sure that it's from a solid source, because there are memes, there's information thrown about. So let's have a look at white sage. Now, the information that I found out about white sage, and there are differing information here. White sage is what the Native Americans use, but there is a problem apparently, and it's not necessarily on the endangered list, but there is a problem with people going onto the lands and stealing it. So that is an issue that needs to be borne in mind. There are also some tribes that sell white sage, and it's quite a good source of income for them. So I think if you are going to use white sage, you need to check out the source. You need to make sure that it is coming from a reliable and sustainable source, and that if you are buying it, the money goes to the people that are actually growing it. So do source that. But if you're in England and anywhere really outside of America, I would say white sage is native to the Americas. It doesn't grow in England. It's not native to England. It does not like our climate. You might have a bit of luck with it if you try, but it's not native here. And I would say use what's relevant to you, use what's native to you. And I go over this a lot with any of the magical herbs that you use. Obviously, there are some things that we can't grow in a lot of the European countries. We're not going to grow frankincense or myrrh for a start. It just isn't going to grow. And again, order it, by all means order it, but do make sure it's from a sustainable source. And I think if you're using something for cleansing with smoke, there's absolutely nothing wrong with cleansing with smoke. It is a tradition used across the globe. That's not the problem. That's not the issue. Use a herb or a plant that is native to you. I think it works so much better anyway. If you've grown a herb in your garden, or if the herb has been grown locally to you, it's going to have so much more power and relevance to it. And you can use all sorts of different herbs for cleansing purposes. And really, you can use incense too. You can use incense sticks, you can use cones, you can use loose incense, you can use all sorts of things. It doesn't have to be a bundle of white sage. And in actual fact, I have never used white sage myself. I won't buy it because it has to be shipped from the other side of the country, and if I globe, and if I can avoid that whole eco thing as well, of the planes and all the damage that it does to the ecosystem transporting it, then I won't buy it. So I've always used garden sage, normal garden sage. It's native to the UK. It grows in my garden. Rosemary, lavender, thyme, mugwort, all sorts of things that you can use instead that work just as well. In actual fact, I think they work better if they have come from your local area. And if you buy it locally, if you buy from farmers markets and things like that, if you don't grow it, then you're supporting local suppliers as well. Jane says, bog standard sage, lavender and rosemary in the garden. No excuse to use other stuff. Absolutely. 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 Melissa says, I think people in the West are desperate for the deep dive for more, and many indigenous cultures have kept these practices alive, are still connected to the earth, which is desirable to those who have become so desperately disconnected. Yep. People forget they too have a culture they can explore, because modern Western culture has been stripped of so much. And I think this is where research comes in. Now, I'm not saying, because as a pagan, gods find their way to me. I don't always work with, for want of a better term, Celtic gods, because that covers quite a lot, really. Have actually started in the last few months working specifically with ancient British gods and goddesses. But I haven't always worked with that. I've worked with Ganesha a lot. I've even worked with one or two Loas. I've worked with deities really from around the globe. Not so much Egyptian, but only because they haven't come my way. And I think if the deity is making itself known to you, you have to listen. Because in my experience, if you don't listen, they will keep banging on until you do. So I don't think it's about that. I think you have to follow the pathway that is laid out for you and shown to you. But I think it has to be done with absolute respect. And we will get on to the idea of the actual smudging ritual in a second. Xenia, I asked Ronald Hutton, a very lovely man, about cultural appropriation, about another subject, and he told me that appropriation mostly is about when white people use traditions from cultures they've colonized and that were exploited. Apart from that, what we should avoid, humans have borrowed customs from each other since the beginning of humankind. Absolutely. But we have, because people traveled. Even back ancient times, people traveled and they took their cultures and their traditions and customs round and about. They really did. One of the things that I like to work with is hoodoo, and it is a magical practice. I don't specifically work with the hoodoo side of it, but a lot of the hoodoo magic, which is really located from the African slave trade, had European folk magic influence on it. So a lot of those hoodoo practices are exactly the same as ancient British folk magic, because people shared and people traded and people picked up all different traditions. And this is thing as well, the cleansing with smoke covers the globe. Whatever word you want to use to call it, it is the same practice across the globe, but with different rituals entailed with it. Erin participated in a blanket exercise ceremony a few years ago, and it was very powerful. The elders used white sage and a beautiful feather to cleanse a space and invite the ancestors to help teach us. It was beautiful to experience this shared ritual, but did not feel like something I should be doing on my own. Yeah, and I think that's it. I've been to shamanic workshops. I've been to shield maiden workshops. I've been to various things because I like to investigate other things. I like to keep learning. Karen says, I think it's very special if you grow your own herbs and make your own smudge from it. Absolutely. It's got so much more personal connection to it. Maria, I use an incense stick because it doesn't smoke so much. Yeah, but think someone said on that post those should be used as a synthetic. That did come up. I do always recommend incense sticks and incense cones if you don't want to use loose incense. Loose incense, if it's got resin in it, which most of them do, will smoke a lot. If you want less smoke and if you don't want to set off the smoke alarms, then incense sticks and cones are really good. Do check the ingredients. Some of them have got, generally the cheaper ones, have got a lot of nasty chemicals in them. The better brands don't. So just check. This is another thing about doing a little bit of research. Check the ingredients in them. Don't stop using them because they're really, really convenient to use. Just check what the ingredients are. It's a bit like essential oils. When you're using those, a lot of the cheaper ones of those have got synthetic stuff added. Just check the ingredients, basically. John, I'm not sure about cultural appropriation. It's a difficult subject to wrap your head round, and it's very difficult to know what is and what isn't. And I think sometimes we do go a little bit over the top with it. So it's just about doing a bit of research and being comfortable with what you're doing, I think. Jane found a lovely little statue of Bast in a charity shop. Nice. Yeah, you can get some really good stuff in charity shops. Lani, I work with Egyptian gods and goddesses. You do, my lovely, as I've always had a connection with them. Absolutely. And I don't think you can avoid that connection. But I think it's about respecting that culture and learning about them and working with them in the way that works for you. Absolutely. We have to follow our spiritual pathways. Absolutely. Okay, the holy people in these different societies will pick up when a person has truly been contacted by their said deities, which can fast track being accepted into their society. I don't, I think as pagans as a whole, we have to follow our own pathways, and it is about respect. I'm not necessarily about being accepted into tribes. We've got to follow our own pathway with that. Xenia, hoodoo's fab. Yes, lots can be used here. It is. There's just so many hoodoo practices that are European folk magic. Got to work with it because that's, if it's come from your own folk lore and your own history, and you've got to trust what you're doing and just do it with respect, I think. Jane says Christians stole a lot of their imagery from pagans. Indeed, some of it they put into reverse to use as propaganda, but a lot of their customs are similar to ours. Yeah, candles are in bulk, celebrating Easter. Yep, it's, we take from each other. Kay suggesting incense sprays. Yep, I'm going to get on to alternatives in a second. Christine, love growing my own herbs and love to add messages on bay leaves and added inside lavender and rosemary, also rose leaves too. Yeah, all brilliant. Teresa, our ancestors wouldn't have had access to white sage and would have used plants and herbs from their local area. I do the same where I can and usually forage anything I need and can't find in the garden. Herbs have a way of finding me too. Mugwort appeared in my old garden. Yeah, I was gifted monkshood by my neighbour and found comfrey seed packet in my drawer that I didn't even remember buying. Yes, I did. Use local stuff just makes so much more sense to me. That you use a local herb. It'll have your own personal energy to it. It'll be far more eco-friendly. There's no transportation costs and damage and all that kind of thing. So if you want to make your own bundles, there are instructions on the Kitchen Witch blog on how to make your own herb bundles. You don't even need to make a bundle. You can burn loose herbs on charcoal bricks. But you can use incense sticks, incense cones. We'll go over some other ideas in a minute. But I think the important thing with this is it's not about just wafting a bit of smoke about. It isn't about, all right, incense stick, let's just waft that around. It's so much more than that, and it needs to be more than that to make it work properly. I think you can do your house, you can do your body, but I think it's about making it a ritual with intent. It needs to have that structure of intent, and it needs to be a ritual that you care about. And I think that's possibly where a bit of the Native American appropriation comes into it. They have, as I understand it, very specific rituals that they do that have very specific steps. And it's all very ritualistic and it's all very spiritual. If you're using that, then yes, you are then coming into that appropriation thing, I believe. So you need to make up what works for you. You need to make your own ritual. But the whole idea of cleansing with smoke needs to have that intent behind it, because otherwise you are just wafting a bit of smoke around. Waft, done, dusted. Doesn't work. So I think it does need to become a bit of a ritual. You need your will and intent behind it. You need to decide whether you want to go around the house and the rooms clockwise or anti-clockwise. Really think about your actions and the way that you waft the smoke. I think it helps to have a chant to go with it. You don't have to be poetic. You can say what you feel, but make sure that you've got real intent behind it. Write out a proper chant to use each time if you want to, but follow a pattern and make it ceremonial. The end result will be so much better if you've actually made some effort with it. I think that goes with anything, really. Jane says, smudging is taken to extremes in Catholic churches. The choir got kippered one Christmas when the priest came over to bless the Christmas tree. Couldn't sing for coughing. Yes, I mean, the Catholic churches, they swing the censer things, don't they, with incense in? Yeah, it does. It goes across the world. Pam says, given that man has travelled for thousands of years, maybe interrelationships mean we have an ancestor who draws us to another culture without consciously knowing it. Absolutely, Pam. I do firmly believe that. It could be ancestors. It could be past lives. I think there's something in our histories that draw us to specific cultures. And I don't think you can ignore that. I think you do have to follow that. Hi, Paul Lovely. I was Anglican and my church loved it. I affectionately called it Smells and Bells. Absolutely. Brilliant. Xenia, true. Yes, we might be surprised what's in our history, Xenia. Michelle says, ritual with intent, yes. My grandmother did this when blessing the house with frankincense. Now, I love frankincense. I do buy it because I love it and I cannot grow it. It's not going to grow in England. It really isn't. But I do make sure that it's come from a sustainable source. Kay says, with Native American, the hair is considered to help them be in touch and connect with the spirits, which is why they keep their hair long. Yes, I have read that. and why they smudge their head area often. Now, that's another thing. We all go around smudging the house and all the rooms, but you need to smudge yourself on a regular basis as well, I think. And again, make it a ritual. Follow a pattern. Whether you start from your feet and work your way up, you have to put your arms out, smudge your arms as well, up over your head, or whether you start from your head and work your way down, whether you work front to back. Go with what works for you, but make it count. Make it really important. Make it ceremonial. But don't forget to smudge your body as well as your home or your house. John, not sure about cultural appropriation. Just read an essay on should the author poet use the word Arweiniad. I'm probably not pronouncing that right. We're not from Wales. And then you look at how many invasions this set of island has suffered in its history, from the Beaker people to the Normans. Look around Lancashire, the landscape is full of Viking names. We are a cauldron of different DNA, John. You're absolutely right. Because originally, particularly looking from my own point of view as part of England, we were joined to the mainland originally. So people, you didn't have to go across the Channel Tunnel. You could just walk across. So there were lots of travels backwards and forwards, and we were invaded by lots of people. So, we are a mixture. Xenia, frankincense. Sadly, don't use it at home because it's too much smoke and the fire alarm might yell. It will yell, guaranteed. I stick to herb bundles. Yes, if you're using incense, if you're using resin, frankincense, myrrh, copal, benzoin, and it will make lots of smoke. So if you've got a loose incense mix on a charcoal disc and it's making lots of smoke, it's the resin that's doing that. Stick with dried herb bundles. They don't make as much smoke. Jane is giving me a Latin chant, which I'm not going to say out loud. I'm not going to pronounce all those words, which translates as cleansed be, saved be, any badness leave thee. Brilliant, but that's just clearing out negative energy. Don't forget that when you clear out negative energy, it leaves a void. And what loves a void? More negative energy. So I think as part of your smudging ritual, it really does pay. Clear the negative energy, but make sure you bring some positive back into it as well. Maria, my mum used olive leaves. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yes. And your family being Greek. Perfect. Good morning, Leslie. Never thought of smudging myself. Think about it. We pick up as many negative energies as anything else does. So if your house has got negative energy and you cleanse it all, and then the negative energy just comes straight back in. Could be you that's bringing it in. So don't forget to smudge yourself as well. Christine, I got invited to a couple's house for a ritual, but wasn't too sure about them. Went with a friend, and while they were swinging their censer, they swung it so hard the ashes fell out and burned all their carpet. This is a thing. If you are using incense to smudge your house, if it's a herb bundle, or if it's loose ends, herb bundles in particular, do have a little dish underneath it, because the bits fall off of the herb bundle and they melt holes in the carpet. I speak from experience. So yes, do be very careful. Hi, Jill. Australian native people use eucalyptus. Oh, yeah, that makes sense for smudging their bodies and during their ceremonies. Yep, and eucalyptus has got such a strong cleansing scent to it, but that grows there. That's native to Australia, so it makes absolute sense. Teresa says, Arwenwyth. Yes, obviously, that's how you pronounce it, Welsh, isn't it? Yes, thank you for that, Teresa. Kay, some people believe the land will rejoin again. So best be nice to foreign neighbours. It's nice to be nice to. We've got to be nice to everyone anyway, no matter about whether the land's joined or not. Michelle burns olive leaf to make kernips for Hellenic rites. That's the cleansing water, isn't it? As I understand it. Perfect, because olives, Greek, Hellenic, it all makes sense. It all goes together. Maria says, I smudge myself first more than once. It makes sense. Smudge yourself, smudge your house. Yep. Definitely. Maria, my mum was Greek. Yes, that makes perfect sense. All sorts of things can affect our energy fields, so it does make sense to cleanse them. Jane, last time I smudged the house from loft to base, a whole lot of clean energy flooded in. It really felt different, and places I didn't like became pleasant to be in. I think it is a really, really good idea to cleanse your house on a regular basis, because it does. It picks up negative energy, and you will feel the difference. Diane says, if you want to use loose incense but don't want a lot of smoke, place it on a piece of foil over a tea light. I have some options to show, Diane, but that's a very good idea. Melissa, this happens in church from time to time, livens things up a bit. Xenia, before ritual, I smudge myself, then smudge the area where I want to cast the circle. Brilliant. Yes, you will. I've been to a lot of rituals, and even a sound bath that I went to where we were all smudged first. Our entire bodies from the feet, and don't forget the soles of your feet as well. Lift your feet up and smudge underneath, all up your side. Put your arms out, up, down your arm, and up your arm. Christine gets menthol crystals from Starchild in Glastonbury. They can be burned on charcoal or can be added to hot water. I always feel like I have cleaned the house out, and it also helps me breathe easily. Yeah, it would. Brilliant. Good morning, Jackie. Michelle, this is such a great conversation. It's interesting, isn't it? And I think it is. It's something that does need to be talked about without people jumping and getting up in arms about things. Kay is talking. Yes. So now Kay's talking about being seasonal. One of my pet things is eating seasonally. The food tastes better. The food is cheaper, and if you get it locally, it hasn't travelled hundreds of miles, so it's much fresher. The same works for plants that you smudge with. Absolutely. Absolutely. Same principle right across. So I know that some people aren't very good with smoke. I'm not good with smoke myself because of all the stupid allergies. I do use a herb bundle that I make myself, but you can just break up some dried leaves and put them on charcoal discs, but they do make a bit of smoke. There is the incense sticks, there is incense cones. Yes, Karen, I have got a note to say that if you've got pets, be careful about what oils or herbs you can use, that you use, whether they are in oil burners as essential oil or whether you're using them as incense or even scented candles. But quite a lot of them can be detrimental to the health of your pet. So do some research first before you start burning all this stuff, because you can make your pet really poorly too. So I bought a little thing that I'd like to show you, show and tell, in Glastonbury. Oh gosh, not even last year, the year before. It is a smokeless incense burner, and I found it in a little shop in Glastonbury High Street, and it's pure genius. You can do the same thing that this does with a usual oil burner. Basically, you have your lid, but in the top bit here, you have your loose incense, and you put it on a little bit of sand, in the bottom, because incense, particularly if it's got resin, melts and it goes all hard and sticky. So if you put a little bit of sand in the bottom, you protect it, and then all you do is tip the incense out. And then inside there is your tea light. So you've got your tea light in here that you light. You put your incense in the dish on the top, and the tea light heats the incense, but it doesn't make any smoke because it's not burning it. So all it does is heat it so that the scent is released. It's actually absolutely brilliant. Brilliant idea. But you can do exactly the same thing with your usual oil burner. Put your little tea light in there, and on the top here, you can see where I've got some old bits in there. Put some sand, and then put your loose incense on the top there, light your tea light, and it heats it, and the scent is released, but without any smoke. Jane, I love frankincense to bits, but when churches started using it mixed with rose, I had to steer clear because that combination makes me feel queasy and it's ever so smoky. Yeah, there are always going to be scents that you love and ones that you hate. I do love frankincense. It is one of my favourites. But yeah, you've got to work with what's right for you. You've got to work with what feels right for you as well. Christine says tea tree is very toxic for dogs. There are a few, aren't there? So do be careful if you have got animals in. That's so clever. It is, Lani, isn't it? It's absolutely brilliant. But if you don't want to spend money on it, just use a usual oil burner, bit of sand and your incense in the top, and it just heats it. Carla, love that. Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? I don't know why we hadn't think about it before. Sue, I know which shop that is. I did wonder what they were for. Yeah, on the high street, sort of just above, just about 3/4 of the way up on the right hand side. I cannot remember the name of it, but if you look on my blog, I think I did a review of it. Yeah, Jane, it's a brilliant idea, isn't it? Yes, Debbie, brilliant idea. But you don't have to buy anything specific for it. Just use your oil burner. The sand is brilliant because it stops you from, because the resin melts. And I didn't use enough sand in this one, so the resin's melted to the bottom of it. Use some sand is brilliant because it's paint scratch resin from the surface. I have a feeling that it doesn't smell that much on sand. It does, honestly it does, but only put, 1/4 centimetre, just a little bit of sand to stop it from sticking, but the heat will get through. The sand does carry the heat through. It is very, very clever, very clever. Sue says buy the church and the co-op. Yes, just up from there. So the smokeless oil burner is absolutely brilliant for that. Or smokeless incense oven, I believe it is called. You can do the same with an oil burner, but you could also put oil in the top. If you don't want to use incense, you can put essential oils in the top. I would recommend either putting some water in and then putting your essential oil, because it helps it last longer and not burn to the bottom, but do keep an eye on it because the water does burn out. Or a piece of wax, just a bit of old candle in the bottom so that it melts, and that works as a carrier for your essential oil, and then it won't ever burn to the bottom of it. So essential oil in the oil burner works really well. That can be used as cleansing as well, clearing the house. Just walk around the house with your oil burner. Be careful not to spill it. Wax melts are brilliant. The Children of Artemis online shop does a fantastic range of those. Bewitched Botanicals online shop does a fantastic range of those as well. Literally just a little wax melt and you chuck it in the top, melts, and it gives off loads of scent, and it is lovely. They work really, really well. And again, you just carry it around with you. You use those in the top of an oil burner, carry it around with you. Scented spray was mentioned as well. You can make cleansing and purifying mist by using a spray bottle. Literally just a spray bottle like this. Use distilled water, and by that just boil a kettle of water, let it cool, and then pour the water in. That stops it going off. And just add a few drops of essential oil, whatever you want. And then as you go around your house cleansing, or your body as well, you just spray it. And you use the spray, and that gives the cleansing, clearing as well. You could also pop a sprig of rosemary or a sprig of lavender actually in the bottle as well as your essential oil. Okay, diffusers are good as well. Yep, electric diffusers. I have got that on my list. It has a little water reservoir. You put drops of essential oil in it, you switch it on. It's electric, and it puts vapor and mist into the air. Maria, I found that if I use a glass top oil burner for sand, it sticks, so I use my ceramic one now. Oh, interesting. Doesn't seem to have a problem with this, but yes, you might need to experiment a bit depending on what's in your incense and how much sand that you put in it as well. Lani, Zoe saves all the small bits of old candles that she used, then melts them all together to create her own lovely mixture of smells coming from her room. Brilliant idea. Brilliant idea. Xenia says, ceramic oil burners are great. They don't break in the heat. Perfect. Jane, a ceramic oil burner with a handle would be great for walking around, but I've never seen one with a handle. Yeah, carrying it around is, you've got to be careful because you're working with heat. You need one that you can just hold from the bottom. Maybe there's a gap in the market there, Jane. Someone needs to make one with a handle. Michelle, water, a bit of salt, and lavender or rosemary oil. Yes, absolutely brilliant for misting. Sue. Yes, Sue, you could put crystals in the spray bottle too. Drop a couple of crystals in there. Brilliant. Brilliant. Melanie says, I soak garden sage in mine as I can't have incense in the house. Perfect. It works just as well as the smoke and doesn't set your fire alarm off or your asthma. Maria says, how long does the mist spray last? As I've had the same one around for around 2 years. Probably not that long, Maria. I do find that once essential oil is out in the air, it does, the scent changes, and it doesn't always change for the better. So yeah, I would say probably about 6 months was probably the best idea, Maria. You might need a new one. So scented spray is brilliant. If you have a microwave, you pop a heat-proof bowl of water in your microwave, add a good dash of something like lemon juice, that works really well. Pop a bit of cinnamon stick in there, or ground cinnamon, cloves work well. Pop them in the water and then just turn the microwave on for a couple of minutes. It will fill the room and the house with the scent. Obviously, you don't walk around with it, although you could walk around with the bowl afterwards if you carried it carefully. But the scent does fill the room, and that's just done in the microwave. It's really, really easy. Pam says a handle. Oh, we need to look for, yes, we do need to look for them with handles. Christine, I used to burn incense in a bamboo holder, but when my dog saw the smoke, it freaked her out. Oh, bless her. Yeah, I guess they probably wouldn't understand it. The other one too is simmering incense. There is a recipe for it on Air Kitchen Witch blog. Basically the same principle as the microwave one. You fill a saucepan with water and add your ingredients. Cinnamon sticks, slices of citrus fruit, a bit like you were making a punch, really, or a mulled wine. Simmer it gently and it fills the house with scent. So, and you can chuck all sorts of things in there. Diffuser we just mentioned, yeah, that's a really good electric idea, and it brings a mist out as well rather than smoke. You can use scented candles, good reliable option to get scent into the room as light the candle, and you can walk round with the scent candle as well. So that brings the scent round and cleanses the house. Good old salt. Salt is really good. It can be sprinkled in the corners of the room, or salt water can be sprinkled in the corners of the room too. You can also sprinkle dried herbs in the corner of each room, but be very careful if you have pets and children, because you don't want them to be eating the salt or the dried herbs. There are lots of options. And if all of those fail you, visualization is good. Walk around your house and see the negative energy being cleared. White lights, blue lights, light from above, light from below, wherever you want to. Visualization can clear out the negative energy as well. Sound is really good. If you have a drum or a rattle or bells, failing that, a biscuit tin and a wooden spoon, saucepan and a wooden spoon, you can walk around your house and clear the negative energy out with sound. But again, no matter what you use, make it count. It is the intent and the will behind the actual cleansing that is one of the important parts of it. You can't just wander around banging a saucepan and hope it'll all disappear. You have to put some kind of structure into it. So think about that and how you're actually going to work. Because it is a ritual of sorts. It is a cleansing ritual. So it has to have that kind of structure behind it to make it work properly. Diane has a little diffuser for my car that plugs into the cigarette lighter plug. It has little pads for putting oils onto. You can get those for the house as well, can't you, that plug in? They work very well. Just be careful with pets with that one as well. Lani, you can get ceramic burners that have a little hold of the tea light that has a handle. No burning of the fingers. Yeah, I think that's what we need, isn't it? Ones with handles. So cleansing with smoke is really good. Cleansing with all sorts of scent is good, but you can also do it with sound. If you want to crank up your music, whatever music you think will clear the negative energy, bit of Megadeth, bit of Metallica, get that loud music on and get it playing through the house, and the sound will clear it. Go with what works for you, really. There are lots of different options and ways of doing it. And we'll put all these suggestions up on the blog. It doesn't have to be smoke, but if it is, then do use something that is local to you, whether you've grown it yourself or whether you buy it from a local supplier. And it doesn't have to be from a magical store. Supermarkets, farmers markets, the big old Asian supermarkets do a huge array of stuff that's really cheap and good. Whatever you've got that you can get your hands on, really. Check your kitchen cupboards. anything that can burn basically will work really well for that point of view. But if it's sourced locally, if it grows in your country, then it is going to have that much stronger connection and that more power to it to work with you, particularly if you've grown it yourself. It will be so much better. Okay, open the front and back door helps negative flow out. Well, there's also, from the sort of folk magic and hoodoo point of view, you can sweep negative energy out. You start from one door of the house and you work to the other end of the house. You start from the top, you work down and sweep. You don't have to actually sweep. You can if you want to, but it's a symbolic gesture of sweeping the negative energy out of the door. But again, there has to be some structure to it. You have to start from one end of the house, from one door of the house, and sweep it all out. Make it quite ceremonial because that adds to it. Erin has singing bowl. Brilliant. Yes, singing bowl, crystal singing bowl, brass singing bowls. Brilliant for clearing out negative energy. I think with singing bowls, you have to find one that resonates with you. Some of them make you kind of cringe. You've got to get the right sound that's right for you. Vanessa, good set of speakers with the volume turned up. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Get some sound in there, definitely. Xenia, so the noisy neighbour in the flat below mine does room cleansing with loud music. You never know, he might be. Jane uses a singing bowl and some little jingly bells. Yep. And again, that's important. If you're clearing out the negative energy, make sure you bring in some positive energy as well. Vanessa, sound equals vibration. It does, and it's the vibration of that sound that clears out the negative energy. Christine, I've got given a wrought iron pan that I use in the garden and fill the garden with smoke. Yes, yeah. I do tend to, if I do use loose incense, it's got resin in it, I'll do the cleansing and then it gets put out in the garden to burn out. Leslie, every new year I bring the bells in by sweeping with my besom. Yes, every new year I open my back door to let the negative energy out, and I open the front door to let the positive energy in, because there has to be that balance, because just clearing the negative energy will leave a big hole. You need to fill that hole with positive. John, how does that work? I'm always singing made up words to tunes I don't know the words to. I think we're all with you on that one, John. Singing is another thing. It is voice, it's sound, it's vibration. If you want to sing your way around the house, do that too. Sure, my singing would get rid of any negative energy. I can promise you that, because it's so bad. Carol, I do cleanse my home, but never thought of cleansing myself. Yeah, because we hold on to that negative energy as well. Debbie, I used to take 2 saucepan lids and go around the house, bang them together in all the corners. Brilliant. And that's important as well, actually, the corners. Make sure that if you are using smoke or sound or scent, whatever it is you're using, get that into the corners of all the rooms too, and cupboards and the little tricky areas where it likes to hang around. Do make sure that you do that. And as I say, with yourself as well, make sure under the armpits, under the feet. You might smudge all yourself and forget that your feet are standing on the floor. So you need to lift them up and smudge under them as well. You can do the body cleansing thing in a bath or in the shower as well. Shower is obviously continuously washing away. So if you visualize negative energy, or you use the soap as you're cleaning to cleanse your body, then that works really well in the shower. Baths slightly different. I know we like to have ritual baths, but for cleansing, I think for me the shower works better because it is continually washing the energy away, whereas the bath, you're kind of sitting in it for a bit until it goes down the plug hole. But work with what works for you, really. I like to do the shower to do the cleansing of the negative energy, and then putting body lotion on afterwards brings the positive energy in. So it's about thinking different ways of doing it, and thinking how it works, clearing negative energy and bringing positive in. It doesn't have to be smoke. There are all sorts of other options. Leslie says, singing always lifts my mood. Yeah, it's vibration, isn't it? Definitely. Jane, my neighbour complained that my smoke was coming in through his extractor fan. Oh dear. I advised him to check whether he'd install the extractor fan back to front. Christine, when I used to work in the crystal shop, we used to smudge people's auras before doing a Reiki treatment. Yes, and you can use crystals to cleanse as well. You can use crystals to cleanse the energy from your body. You can also place crystals around the house to keep negative energy out and to bring positive energy in. You can also use witch bottles. I have a couple of witch bottles in the house. Their sole purpose is to suck negative energy out into the jar and to push positive, transform it into positive energy to put it back in the room. There is a video on my YouTube channel on how to make witch bottles if you are interested, but they work really well to just keep around the house. Willow. Hi, Willow. Sometimes you hold on to the negative energy yourself more than your surroundings. Cleanse the mind. Oh, yes. We've talked about cleansing the house. We've talked about cleansing the body. Yes, a good mind cleanse. That sounds a little bit dubious, doesn't it? Electrodes on the head. But yes, we do hold on to negative energy ourselves very, very easily. Teresa, I Reiki shower myself in this. Yes, if you work with Reiki, it's brilliant for cleansing yourself and your rooms. You can use Reiki to cleanse your body, to cleanse your home as well. It works very, very well. Chuck those symbols around. John, just throwing this in, I thought cleansing was the purpose of the besom, not flying on it. Yes, it is. The besom is used for cleansing. It is cleansing and sweeping. The whole flying on the broomstick goes back to flying ointment and all kind of historic stuff. But yes, the besom is really good for sweeping. It's good for clearing sacred space, and it's good for sweeping negative energy out of your house. Maria says that's not always easy. Oh, no, clearing your mind, Maria? One of the most difficult things to do, I think, cleansing your mind of negative energy. That, I think, shadow work comes in to help with that and support and working on yourself. Not easy, takes a long time, and actually is quite ongoing. Lani says, witch bottles are brilliant. I have a few scattered around the home. They work really, really well. Maria, I just blast metal through my shower speaker. If that's not getting the energies moving, nothing is. No, it's real kind of, guru music, isn't it? That really gets the energy shifting. Brilliant, brilliant. Jane says, I mentally open a door in my brain and all the mind monkeys run out of it. Then I shut it and it's all quiet again. Setting your monkeys free, Jane. Send out your flying monkeys. Brilliant. Any kind of visualization that works for you is right. There is no right and wrong. Michelle says, got to lose the miasma too. Yep, absolutely. Kay, what is the cutting an apple in half for the pentagram for protection? I don't understand your question particularly there, Kay. If you cut an apple in half, it does have the pentagram inside it. It would work for protection. I'm sure the pentagram works for protection because it's the 5 points, isn't it? It brings all the 5 elements together. And it is actually the pentacle, the circle around it, I always think of is bringing everything together and bringing in the protection. Jane, if his extractor is off, your smoke may seep through. A neighbour used to run his lorry outside her house and the exhaust fumes came through. Ooh, not nice. Lorry exhaust fumes, nasty. So I think with any of this, cleansing with smoke is global. There are probably every culture has worked with cleansing with smoke in some form or another. So I would not worry about that. If you need to cleanse using smoke, go for it, do it. But make it your own. Work with ingredients that are native to the country you live in, or that you've grown yourself if possible, or that you've sourced ethically. Make sure that it comes from a sustainable source, from an ethical source. If you are drawn to use white sage, please do some research about it first. There's lots of misinformation on social media. Do your information about sourcing it from somewhere sustainable and from somewhere where the money goes back to the native people that grow it. If you are cleansing with smoke, make your own ritual from it. do something that works for you, but make it a ritual. A big part of it is that you have to put it into a structure so that it actually has meaning. Just wafting a joss stick around is not going to do the trick. But use what works for you. If you can't work with smoke, then do use something else. There are lots and lots of different options that you can work with to cleanse. But don't forget, cleanse your home, but cleanse yourself as well. And willing family members, if they're up for it, you can cleanse them as well. So there's a whole lot of different options, but don't jump to conclusions about things having just read something on Facebook. Please educate yourself by doing some research. I use garden sage. It grows in the UK. And actually, I think it does smell different to white sage, but you've got to work with what works for you. If you grow lavender in your garden, brilliant. If you grow rosemary, brilliant. Use what works for you, but keep it local. Keep it local. Keep it seasonal. We're just about coming into spring now, so there's not an awful lot out in the garden at the minute. So work with what you've got. Don't spend lots of money buying exotic ingredients that have to be flown from the other side of the world. And I think that goes for anything, whether it is for your smudge bundles or your magical herbs for use or your food. If you work seasonally with your food, then work it right through to all of your magical uses as well. Spending loads of money to order exotic ingredients from the other side of the globe is expensive, but it also is quite damaging to the ecosystem as well. So have a think about it and do your research, because there is a lot of rubbish out there. So learn about it before you use it. Definitely. I'll put the information all up on the blog later on today, hopefully. Kay says, with the correct intention and rituals, any negative energy knows to leave. You can. We work with energy all the time as witches, so getting rid of negative energy shouldn't be a problem. We just need to know how to do it properly and with the right intent. But just remember to bring that positive energy in as well. Thank you, guys. Always open to suggestions as well for ways that you cleanse and clear. It does have to be personal, I think, and what works for some won't work for another. But do your research, and enjoy cleansing your home. It really, really does make a difference. Rachel, I used to do a smoke protection on my old workshop. It helped to protect and cleanse all of the energies from different visitors. It helped a lot. My neighbour got broken into and they tried to break into my workshop but failed. That's the other thing. Good point, Rachel, if you have a shop or a business where lots of different people are coming in and out, that's an awful lot of energy moving about. So that I would probably cleanse every day. You'll know if it feels like it needs cleansing, your home or your business, wherever it might be. You'll know. You just feel that it needs a bit of a cleanse, and once you've cleansed it, it will feel so much better afterwards. Thank you, guys. Hopefully that has, dispelled a few problems. It's only my point of view, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but hopefully that's given you some different options as well. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone. Work with what's right for you. Trust your intuition, but learn stuff. Learn about things. If you're going to use something, learn about it. If you're working with a particular pantheon, learn about it. If you're working with a particular deity, learn about it. If you're working with a particular herb, learn about it. We're all learning. We're all still learning. It's an ongoing journey. But thank you, everybody, for your company today. As always, you guys are absolutely fantastic. And take care and have a very, very lovely weekend.